Hello, welcome to Lemon Studios, where we talk anything and everything entertainment. I'm, of course, Lemon himself, Zeke Lamone, and this is my review for Kraven the Hunter. But before we get into that, let's get the house cleaning out of the way. Shire and Julie will like, comment below, let me know your thoughts on Kraven the Hunter, and of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into the review, shall we? So, Kraven the Hunter, the final movie in the SPUMC universe, the spin-offs, without Spider-Man in them, even though we'll make sure to reference Spider-Man any way, shape, or form that we can. And, you know, look, these types of movies, you know what you're getting yourself into every single time. It's just a matter of how bad it can go. I always said, look, these movies to me are like a nice throwback to the 2000s. And in a way, I'm able to enjoy 4 out of the 6 out of them. I gave all 3 Venom movies a positive review. Again, is a throwback to that Daredevil, to that Ghost Rider type movies. I even liked Morbius to a degree. I know that's a very much something that you should not be saying, but I did. I liked Morbius quite a bit. Madam Web to me was the one I was like, yeah, no, this one's pretty bad. They went way too heavy with the spider references in that one. And here in Kraven the Hunter, it's not necessarily the spider references that are bad, even though I do see a lot of problems being studio interference, because there are just a lot of decisions, and especially with the team that's behind the camera and in front of the camera, I just cannot imagine that this was the project that was pitched to them. I just can't. I saw, and there was also opportunities for multiple stories that could have been much more simpler and a much more quicker runtime than what we had. This movie is about 2 hours and 5 minutes. I think it could have easily been a 90-minute flick. Again, if you just stick to one lane and you just stick to that lane the whole entire way through. But there is a lot, and I mean a lot, going on within this flick. And also the editing and the structure of this film is just disjointed, and you feel it all the way through this flick. So it kicks off with the 8-minute opening that is available online. I didn't know that when I went into the movie, but you can see the first 8 minutes on it. And while I was watching it, I was like, well, if this is how the movie is going to be, I really don't get the hate. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, camp, and just wacky fun the whole entire way through. I don't understand why this is a 9 through 15% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And then after that, we cut to a young Kraven. And we stick with this young Kraven for a good 30 minutes. And that was just a big mistake. A really big mistake. I don't mind going to a young Kraven and seeing how he was brought up and all that, but you need to do it in a lot quicker time, or you need to sprinkle out throughout the flick. Because when Aaron Taylor Johnson is not on screen, boy, does the movie suffer. I mean, he is the equivalent of Joe Burrow on the Cincinnati Bengals, where if he ain't playing well, the whole movie just goes to complete shit. And there's some amazing talent on this. I honestly think the big four, when they're interacting with each other in one way, shape, or another, the movie does sing a little bit. And when Aaron Taylor Johnson is interacting with anyone, the movie goes up a little bit. That's just how special of a talent that he is. But you have Russell Crowe, who's always great, and I do truly believe he always brings it. He's never phoning it in. I don't understand how you don't make him a bigger part in this film. I just don't, especially when the story is hitting you over and over and over again, especially with the long sequence that you have with young Kraven to explain this relationship. I just really think you dropped the ball with that, because the scenes with Russell Crowe and Aaron Taylor Johnson are some of my favorites in the whole entire movie. But when Russell Crowe is not interacting with Aaron Taylor Johnson, the movie just... There are some scenes where it's just Russell Crowe talking to someone else. Even when he's talking to someone that I also liked. I liked the guy who plays Kraven's brother, Chameleon. I liked him quite a bit. But when they're not interacting with Aaron Taylor Johnson, it's not as good. The dialogue doesn't seem as natural. I mean, this script, you can hear the paper all the way through. And just some of the decisions, like there was like no challenging, like, can we change the dialogue up a little bit? It just wasn't working unless they were talking with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who just somehow always seemed to make it work one way or the other. It was the same with Ariana DeBose. Those were the 4 that did very well with what they were given. They did the best with what they got. Besides those 4, again, this movie is almost completely unwatchable. But the main problem I have with this film is with its villain. And this is where I come into, there was probably a lot of studio interference, because I do believe, because this movie is trying to do a lot. And I mean a lot. And I think if they just kept it simple to either a story of father and sons, where, you know, the son is trying to overtake the father, you know, to teach him a lesson. There's your story right there. Or it can be the story, because this is in the trailer. Kraven leaves his brother, who is not as much of a fighter as he is, to be with his toxic father. Once he leaves him, then, you know, that brother does become toxic. It does become that father. And then there you go, brother versus brother, right? Or brother versus brother and father. Because again, you have Russell Crowe. Use him! Freaking use him! If they would have kept it to that, I think we're seeing a much more different tune about this film. And blurring the lines a little bit when it comes to Kravinoff. Because, or Shinsuke. Because they make him a full-on hero. And when they announced these spinoffs, I thought for the most part they were getting the right people. Minus Madam Web. I always saw Madam Web as more as a Nick Fury type who's in the recruiting stages and just comes into the other films as opposed to leading her own project. But I thought Morbius, yeah, that could work as an anti-hero flick. Venom, obviously it did work. Kraven, that could also work quite a bit. But to make him just a full-on hero, I just think he lost some of that badassness within it. And also when he does get that full-on suit that we do come to know and love, it makes absolutely no sense with the story they were trying to tell, because they add a whole other story beat that just, again, comes from out of nowhere. Even though this movie does have a decent runtime for the movie that it's trying to be. But within the main villain, with it being Alexei, the Rhino, I could just see it where they were just like, well, you know, we tried making these organic villains and it just didn't work. So we need to have people that the audience already knows. And since he's a hunter, he needs to face an animal type villain. We want him to face the Rhino. And it just doesn't work. It just felt so shoehorned in, and it just like, okay, this is what we're doing, but it just wasn't working. It was like, for my wrestling fans as well, because we also cover wrestling here, it was like Big Dog Roman Reigns, where they're going, hey, he's the guy. And we're like, well, I know you're telling me he's the guy. He could be the guy, but I don't really like you telling me that he's the guy. So we're going to boo him. That's kind of what they were doing with the Rhino. Like, hey, here's your villain. I was like, yeah, but Russell Crowe's right there. But hey, this guy, I do not remember the actor's name. I've seen him before. But again, he's very talented. This guy who's playing the chameleon, I kind of like these story elements over here. Yeah, but no, here's the Rhino. Here's the Rhino. Here's the Rhino. And also, with some of the actors' decisions, who plays Alexei, and there was a lot of questionable decisions on the actors on all parties here besides the main four. But mainly with him. And I don't like harping on actors that much because it's not always them, right? Like, sure, they can make a questionable choice, absolutely. But it's also on the director to go, yep, cut and print, that works for me. Or to go, hey, that was an interesting choice. Can we try it a different way? And I just feel like the director never asked them to try it a different way. There's literally a scene in here where the Rhino like does a clicking sound like he's a clicker in The Last of Us. And I just don't see why. And like I laughed in the movie, but that definitely wasn't the intent of the scene whatsoever. It was very cringy, quite a bit. So yeah, very long edits within the chopping block that just we need to cut some scenes down a little bit to get the tempo up. What we chose as our villain just didn't work. Another thing, and I'm being petty at this point, but it legit gave me a headache within it. Some of the wardrobe choices, especially with Ariana DeBose. And again, she does great when she's talking with Aaron Taylor Johnson, and then when she's talking with other people, she's making it work for the most part, but again, it's just not as good when he's in it. She's wearing the same black dress throughout the whole entire flick. Maybe like different versions of the same dress. But I swear, she has not changed at all. And then there comes a point in the movie where she has to go on the run and she has to go to a foreign land. And it's clear she didn't bring a bag whatsoever. And she's wearing a white shirt. And, you know, it's like, oh, okay, cool. She finally changed and, you know, it kind of fits with this setting. Yeah, it works well. And then later on, she's suddenly in a black shirt again. And I'm just like, how does she have time to change? Not only that, where did she get this shirt? There's no stores nearby. It was really jarring to me. So it was just those kinds of mistakes. And again, that's very petty. That's like bottom of the barrel, but I just have to talk about it. Where Yeah, I do see the qualms of it being a 9 to 15 rating. I still think it's a little too harsh. I think if anything, it's a 30%. I will say, coming out of it, I really don't know which one I prefer more because on my immediate reaction, I said on TikTok that I like this movie next to the Venoms. Like it goes to 3 Venoms and then Kraven. Now I'm not sure which one I prefer more, if it's Morbius or Kraven the Hunter. It's definitely better than Madam Web, for sure. And I also sit here thinking, like, look, if this wasn't a theater flick and this wasn't based on a Marvel character, and a Marvel character that I absolutely love as a huge Spider-Man fan who loves Kraven the Hunter, would I be going as hard of it? Like, if this was on Amazon Prime or Netflix, and I saw, you change the title and you change the characters' names that star Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ariana DeBose, Russell Crowe, and it just says Polcher Smolcher or some shit like that. I was like, interesting cast, funny title. Just click on it and watch it. Would I be showing a lot more grievance to it? I think so. So part of me does think, hey, wait for streaming, and I think you'll have a much more better time with it. But definitely don't watch it alone. Have some friends over, to take the piss out of it quite a bit. But can I fully recommend you to go see this movie, even at a matinee price? I have to say no. I just don't see... I just can't willingly go, yeah, go see Kraven the Hunter. So if I had to rank it on the lemon scale, where it goes sour lemon at the bottom, expired store-bought lemonade, where there's a lot of bad with some good qualities, store-bought lemonade, where there's a lot of good, but there are some bad qualities in it, lemonade in the middle, hey, it's a good movie. Freshly squeezed lemonade, it's a great movie, but there are some problems from making it perfect. And then strawberry lemonade at the very top, because that's the best kind of lemonade. To me, it's pretty obvious, right? Kraven the Hunter, to me, is an expired store-bought lemonade. Just a lot of problems within it. Again, just felt like the heart wasn't in it. And I do feel like a lot of studio interferences where they were like, yeah, we got to make the audience happy. We did the numbers. Put a villain that everyone knows that's going to be in it. That's going to sell tickets. Make a bunch of references. That's going to make the internet marks go absolutely crazy. There's this scene with a bunch of spiders that just like, why'd you add this? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. Because, Spider-Man. It's just those types of things. I'm just like, if you would have just stuck to a lane. And I have to imagine, because again, with the team behind the camera and the team that's in front of the camera, what was pitched to it, because I just can't imagine all these guys going, yeah, I'll do it. Not all these actors need a paycheck. Maybe some of them, but not all of them. And these creators didn't need a paycheck to pay their house mortgage off. They just didn't. I really do think the studio probably got involved way too much within this. And it is probably the right choice to just, hey, click stop on it, focus on Spider-Man, learn from your collaborators with Marvel Studios, with Kevin Feige. Don't rely on the nostalgia baits. Don't rely on the Easter eggs so much. Just focus on your story, do the basics, and you're going to be okay. But yeah, I just can't recommend this movie. But have you had a chance to see it? Comment below, let me know. Maybe you saw it differently than I did. Leave a like if you made it this far. I do greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, as we have plenty of more things heading your way very soon, especially 2025 is going to be a very, very busy year for this channel, hoping to get to the 500 mark. So yeah, hit the subscribe button to be a part of that ride. But until next time, guys, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.